Hey, this is the World Advice Channel too. What I want to talk about today is a topic that obviously is very controversial, and you can see why it's very controversial. Which, if you're Canadian, you've definitely experienced this, especially if you live in Southern Ontario. Which is the amount of Indians coming in, the amount of new wave of Indian immigrants that are coming in. And what I want to talk about today is, of course, when it comes to this controversial topic, is the question of, are these Indian immigrants that are coming into Canada nowadays, the new wave, not the ones who came in like 10, 20, 30 years ago, but the new wave that are coming in, are they ruining Canada? Now, to be honest with you, even though I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, especially as a left-wing person, I have to admit myself, and when I be completely honest with you, yes, they are ruining Canada. Now, I just want to make it clear that I have no problem with Indian people living in Canada, or any other race of people in Canada for that matter, especially being someone who grew up being around Indian people and stuff, and people of other races in general. But I have to admit, this new wave that are coming in freaking suck, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, unlike the old wave of Indians who came in decades ago, who were, even though they had their flaws, they overall behaved themselves. This new wave absolutely are just absolutely unbearable to be around, okay? And a lot of it is because of Justin Trudeau. As usual, Justin Trudeau is literally behind all of the issues in Canada. And even the reason why nowadays you see homeless people everywhere in Canada, especially if you live in South Ontario, the Greater Toronto area, pretty much. And he's responsible for everything. He ruins everything, That reason, he's the reason why you see that stuff, and even other things for that matter. The thing is, when it comes to the Indian immigration issue, the new wave of them that are coming in that suck, he's responsible for that too, because he lessened the restrictions that let Indians who in the past wouldn't have been able to come in are now able to come in. And this new wave are just unbearable to be around. First and foremost, I just want to make it clear, okay? They are shitty drivers. A lot of them are shitty drivers, you have the worst experiences with them. A lot of people, when you're driving, they just speed, they're cutting corners, they're not indicating and all that sort of stuff. And they just do things that every other group of people don't really do. Even Asian people, who everyone used to make fun of them for being bad drivers, compared to Indians, they're even worse, honestly. And the second thing that this new wave immigrants coming in are doing as well is, as well aside from that, is that everybody can unanimously agree is irritating and annoying, is the fact that so many of them stand in the road, okay? Now this one objectively is annoying. The first one is objective too, but that one is kind of optional, because it depends on how much you go outside and even where you go. But this one is undeniably annoying, okay? There's no if, ands, or buts. Let's not play that game. This one is annoying because you already know how the Canadian system is like if you live in Canada, and how the system has been broken for years, and just has been stupid for some time, okay? And why the hell, and for that very reason, why the hell do I, as an innocent, law-abiding citizen, let alone anyone who's intelligent for that matter, who's a law-abiding citizen, want to have a situation where I'm driving, minding my own business, and some person, or even some kid, who cares at this point, okay? Because they shouldn't be out there in the road anyway, especially if they're of a decent age where they can know better, just walks out in the road. An adult, and like I said, a young person walks out, and I accidentally happen to hit them, and now guess what? Now I have to do one of two things. First and foremost, go to court, and go through a whole process and stuff, and that of course is very stressful and can even go on for years. And secondly, have to spend anywhere from thousands and tens of thousands of dollars paying a lawyer, and sometimes that might be if you're lucky, because someone just decided to walk on the road and stand there even though they shouldn't have been out there. And I'm not even joking. It's not like just walk there randomly or something. They literally, you'll be driving in a neighborhood on a road. They are literally just walking around, and some of them standing having conversations out in the middle of the road. Not even a side of the road, out in the middle of the road. Okay? I'm not even making this up. If you come here to Canada and think I'm lying, you will see I'm telling the truth. A lot of them, this new wave particularly, are doing this stuff. And that's why so many people hate me. Even Indian people. And not even self-hating Indians, like you might think, like a self-hating Indian person, or something like that. For that matter, we're talking about Indian people who are actually Indian and proud of their heritage, who live here in Canada, who even they will admit that they fucking hate them. This new wave at least, okay? Like that's what type of stuff that a lot of new waves do. They stand on the road and they're like having conversations on this honk, and they're like looking at you like you did something wrong, and it's like, no, you shouldn't be out there on the road. And that's the second most annoying thing. And the third one, that's even more annoying, especially if you're someone who might be more of a lone type or going through a situation in life, is the freaking lack of hygiene they have, okay? Because you come in a place like Tim Hortons, McDonald's, which a lot of them pretty much run now. They run those places now. In the past, in honesty, in the past, it used to be more of a mix of people. Now it's just mostly Indians. And you come in that place, next thing you know, like you're seeing the most disgusting things that you wouldn't even see any other group of people do, for that matter. Even the people who have poor hygiene probably would do on the low, okay? For that matter, okay? Like you see them like for example, like a piece of food from your food that you had fall on the counter and they put it back in it. Like you might be having a poutine and a fry falls on the counter and they put it back in there. Sometimes food falls on the ground, they put it back in there. You might ask for a salad, and they literally are washing it in a sink where they wash like dishes and stuff. Like they're doing disgusting stuff. That's lack of hygiene. And if you're already having a bad day going through something in life and you see that shit, it can really, really, really get underneath your skin. Not everyone has the confidence to speak up and say, I don't want that anymore, especially if you're hungry. And that's what I'm saying. And that's why so many people freaking hate this new wave of Indian immigrants. And I can't say I feel bad for them, especially knowing how a lot of them are like, just like Latinos. A lot of Latinos, I'm going to be upfront with it. I ain't say the majority, but a lot of Latinos, they come from another country, and obviously they got it through liberal policies, and then, guess what? In 5-10 years, they're voting conservative for the very people that actually, sometimes directly, were fighting before directly to keep people like them out. And then they pull out this whole shit about, we don't want you guys dating black people and all that type of crap, and, saying racist stuff about black people behind our backs, behind the scenes in our house, and saying we're lazy, and even of course using the N-word, the 1 and the R, and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, as a black person, I am not fighting for you guys. And it's good that the black community is waking up nowadays, that we realize that we need to focus on ourselves and not other communities. Because in the past, we used to fight for everyone and use these corny, and a lot of black leaders used to use these corny ass statements like, I'm not fighting for black people, I'm fighting for multiculturalism and all this bullshit. How many of us are doing that anymore? None of us are doing that anymore. I'm not fighting for other communities of people, and then they have kids, and even they themselves pull off some, I don't like black people, or some crap like that later on when they become comfortable in this country. No, fuck no. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm not fighting for that community, for this new wave of Indian immigrants and stuff. Who cares? And that's why a lot of us are turning on us, are just us black people don't care. And just in general, this new wave are unbearable to be around. In honesty. Well, not absolutely unbearable, but they're just dislikable. Some of the things that I have to admit I think is kind of crap myself. Like, they're playing music loud or stuff like that, that's not even that big of a deal. But these things I mentioned are objectively annoying, and everyone can agree. Those three things I mentioned, specifically the last two I mentioned, are objectively annoying and dislikable for that matter. So, what my point for this video is that this new wave needs to stop. We need to kind of stop this stuff, and not just that. We also need to realize that Indian people, I'm gonna keep it real with you. At least the ones who are coming into Canada, you guys are gonna have to do better. This stuff is actually becoming unbearable and irritating, and I can't blame people for hating, even racist people. You have to admit, like they actually have a point this time, and that's not good. That's not good at all, because a lot of this behavior is just absolutely terrible. So anyway, this is my video, and this is all I have to say. And simply put, I'm out. So bye.